Deck builders, builders of decks. Games where we put cards into decks that already contain some cards to make bigger decks, sometimes better decks. I like them. They're one of my favorites. So today, on this week's Indies Under the Knife stream, where I play games sent to me, we're going to be checking out Arcane Path and Waves Ahoy. Two very differently themed new deck builders. Usually these streams I'll try and cover 3 or 4 games, but these take a little bit longer to really kind of check out in depth. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play each one for half an hour. And then if there's one that I'm leaning towards enjoying more, then I will probably play that for a longer period of time. If this is your first time tuning into the channel and you want to submit a game, just to let you know, don't email me them. Don't email me games. I have a submission process. And it's on the homepage of the actual YouTube channel. If you go to Indie Game Clinic on YouTube, I don't have an intro video to the channel anymore because every time I opened the channel, it started playing. This form up here is how you submit a game. If you want me to potentially play the game on the channel, you submit it via this form. If you submit stuff via emails, it just shows me you haven't really paid attention. And yeah, there's a form there. It makes it easier. Also makes it easier for me to get a sense of what your game is and then put it in a themed stream like I've done today. I've got 2 deck builders, and that is because the developers gave me the requisite information I needed in order to put those 2 games in the stream together so that it makes sense. So game submissions, there is a link on the channel homepage of this channel on YouTube if you want to submit your game. I sometimes put it in the video descriptions as well, but even if it's not there, you should find it on the homepage. There's also indiegameclinic.com, which is my website, and if you go to contact there to try and get in touch, and it says, if you are sending your game to be featured on Indies Under the Knife, please use this link instead, and that takes you to exactly the same place that I showed you before. So do not email me games. I still get emailed games all the time. I don't know why. I think there is probably just like an email address floating around somewhere, even though I've been saying to not email me games for about 5 or 6 months now. It's just a waste of your time. They go in the bin. Very, very occasionally, I will play a game sent to me with a key, but usually only if there's some hype around the game already, like if it's another YouTuber's game, or if it's just something I'm personally very, very interested in. But to be honest, my own backlog of games that I'm already interested in and want to play on stream has got dozens and dozens of games in it. So don't try and jump the queue. Just send it to Indies Under the Knife. It's not done on a first come, first serve basis. It is any given stream. When I sit down for the month and I plan my streams out, there might be games in there that were submitted last month. There might be games that were submitted 6 months ago. It really all comes down to when I hit that point where I think, oh, there's a theme. We've got 4 games about grandmas. We've got 4 games about eating cereal. I can make an entire stream about cereal games now. That's kind of how I decide what I'm going to be doing. So it's not based on who's been in the queue the longest. It's based on what looks interesting and can I group these things together so that the stream isn't just a random bunch of games each time. So hi Selva, hi Sam, hi Novice, hi Kitten. Lovely to see you all in the chat. And I think at some point in the next couple of months I'm going to be looking at how to route my OBS so I can stream to Twitch as well at the same time, but mostly just can't be bothered to work out how to do that. I did use, was it Streamlabs or StreamYards a few months ago. Found it really temperamental and didn't stay connected very well. So my first impressions from just looking at these Steam pages, we've got Arcane Path and we've got Waves Ahoy. Waves Ahoy is also is listed as Fata Morgana as the link, so I think it's changed names a few times, but This one is more immediately appealing to me. This kind of cute pirate thing. I like pirates. I like cute. Arcane Path, not as immediately appealing to me because it kind of looks a bit little kind of like Diablo 3 with all of the edgy stuff sanded off. So like very sort of almost Warcraft 3 soft Blizzard type aesthetic. And it looks good. It looks polished. But that aesthetic to me nowadays just makes me think of like mid-core mobile games rather than something like quirky and indie. And so I'm hoping the kind of actual gameplay of this makes up for that. But it's not immediately kind of grabbing me as something that I would like just because of that aesthetic. Whereas the one on itch, I kind of generally, it just has more character, right? It looks like something that wasn't made by a corporate entity, whereas this kind of looks a little bit like it might have been made by a mobile games company with 500 employees or something like that, which I do not intend as a compliment. But let's try it. Let's Arcane Path is up first. Like I say, I'll play them both for like 30-40 minutes, and then if there's time at the end, I'll kind of go back to the one that I enjoyed the most and give it more time. It does look like Dota, doesn't it? It's the sort of Dota art style. It's funny because I do rag on the art style and the kind of creative direction in Slay the Spire, but I play it every day. Right. It's launching. It's having a slow launch. Yeah, let's see. And while we're waiting, we can just kind of, I guess, think about what makes deck builders work. So I have historically had a beef with video game deck builders, and that is because I was playing card game deck builders before things like Slay the Spire came out. And the thing I like about those is you are actually building your deck every turn. That's the whole thing you're doing. So if you play Dominion or Clank or something like that, every time you play some cards, you're also putting more cards in your deck, and that's like the whole game. Whereas the video game single-player deck builders are kind of a bit different. You're playing a card dueling game, and then between rounds you build your deck, which to me is not fully capturing the appeal of those original deck builders, but I also understand why it is. And part of it is that those original deck builders are players playing against players. They're very symmetrical. Everyone starts off with the same set of cards. A single player game, you don't necessarily want or need that. You don't want to just make a 2-player game and then make the player play against an AI. So it's much more, the player has a set of cards to deal with a situation, and the situation isn't like another player with a set of cards. It's something different to that. And it works, but I think we've sort of started going down this tunnel with deck builders where they're all variations of the same thing, and none of them are really drawing off of those original things like Ascension and Dominion. And I think there's a lot of untapped potential there. It's patching. I'm going to play the other game first then, because I've downloaded this already, and then it's doing a long patch. So let's check out Waves Ahoy, or whatever it's called. It's called the Night Watch here. So we've got a different name in the downloadable, in the in the itch URL, and the Waves Ahoy. Yeah, and like both of these games look incredibly polished. Oh, it's decided to open now. Okay, Waves Ahoy can go away till later, and we'll check out Arcane Path. Just check that I'm calling it the right thing. It's a very generic name as well, Arcane Path. It does feel very Blizzardy or very Dota-y, a lot of this art direction. And I know it might sound strange to be like, oh, this is too polished. But there's a particular type of polish that feels like it's trying to appeal to the widest target audience, and it doesn't have as much character. I stand at the heart of the city, waiting for your arrival. That's what I want from a narrative intro. Just one line. Just set the mood. That's great. In the main menu, you'll choose one artifact to equip before your run. This selection is crucial, because once your run begins, you cannot change the artifact. Each artifact provides unique status effects that can significantly influence your gameplay experience. During combat, you use your cards to fight enemies, defend yourself, heal, and more. This is too much explaining up front. Too much explaining up front. Not going to read it. I'll just situate myself here between these icons and these cards. Okay. We're in a RuneScape dungeon. Card feel decent. First thing I check with a card game. Have you done your basic making the cards pop up nicely and fall down nicely? These are all blue. They're all very blue. Choose one of 3 options to draw. Direct damage, direct damage, direct damage, shield. What's going on over here? It's telling me it's going to do a debuff. So we've got the Slay the Spire thing where they're telling us loosely what they're going to do. This camera angle means that the distance of travel to the enemy is a little bit further than if I'd been viewing it from the side. See, it spent all that time explaining to me that I was going to pick a relic, and then it just gave me a relic. Not sure what was going on there. Just turning the audio up for you a bit. I think they might have gone a bit too far down the path of trying to make these cards all match visually. And they've forgotten that the picture is supposed to have like a mnemonic function of helping you to recognize and remember what things do. Because I kind of look at them and you've got a different shape, but you know, there's a reason why we do that thing with like attack and shield cards having a different color in the image and stuff like that. We've got a discover mechanic like Hearthstone. I like that. I like having a slot machine in my deck where I can get cards that wouldn't normally be in it. Random attack max 12. That's cool. Let's do that. Max 20, sorry. Lovely tactile menu stuff there as well. Okay, they're going to do 3 times 3, so we need 10 block. Quick maths. That's a little bit fiddly. Like, when I drag that to an enemy, I have to collide with the actual 3D object to target it. And I think with this kind of thing, you're not testing a player's aiming in a turn-based game, right? So really we should probably have a invisible box here that we do our trace checks on when we go to attack it. Because what you don't want to do is have smaller enemies and they're just fiddly to click on. But I will say, when you watch someone playtest your game, if a lot of their feedback is this kind of very fiddly UX stuff, then that can be a good sign, because it means that there's nothing like fundamentally wrong with it. It's just like little things that are easy to fix, you know. I get 20 sacred gems. They can be spent in the Eternal Library. I will take them all. Thank you. Yeah, this, I'm not seeing anything mechanically different from Slay the Spire, but we've got quite a nice sort of aesthetic thing, and the just overall our direction of what's in the background is nice. The camera angle change feels a bit awkward because it's like, again, like I say, the cards need to be dragged all the way over here. So if anything, you would prefer it if the player was up high, and I know that's not normally the way this would go. It kind of looks like certain JRPGs like Suikoden or Suikoden, however you pronounce it, had these camera angles as well. It looks good. I just wonder if tilting it down a little bit would put the enemy closer to the cards. But again, these are very fiddly little things that I'm commenting on, which is not a bad thing. The sound effects are so quiet though. Give me some crunch. Give me some whack. I want to hear some whacking. Discover a card. It costs 1. Ulcer. I don't know if these cards have been illustrated or generated, but they don't feel like they give a very clear sort of memorable metaphor for what the card does in the image. You know, an ulcer, and it's some purple magic thing, and it does something completely unrelated to ulcers or purple magic stuff. If these are generated, then they're not doing a great job, and if they're illustrated, then Illustrator needs a better brief on what is being depicted in this card. Nature's Raw, okay. But it's one of our basic cards in our deck. And I think if you've got a lightning wizard, just call it shock. You know? Save your 2-word fancy titles for when you've got an upgrade. So Zephyr, I'll show you I'll show you an example of the original deck building kind of mechanics, because arguably they are closer to well, we'll get back into that in a minute. I'll try and focus on this game, and then in the gap between switching games, I'll show you what I mean, because it feels underexplored in video games. And it's mostly because everyone's copying other video games and people aren't taking inspiration from other places like tabletop games or, I don't know, murder mystery parties or... Once again, game developers, I am begging you, have literally any other hobbies beyond video games. It will make your games better. I'm going to draw an extra card, which I can't use because I don't have enough mana, and I'm going to get whomped on the noggin by this guy. Not very characterful enemies at the moment. I'm mostly just fighting yellow gems. Alter Integrity. Again, it's like... That's a basic card. It should have a basic name. You know, have a consistent language in the game of like, basic stuff is basic. It has basic art that shows you exactly what it does. It has a basic name. That will help players on board way quicker as well, because at the moment I'm looking at these cards and, okay, I know that this is my attack. I can see this is my shield. So the image is helping, but I think what they're going for is I'm a mage character, so my shield should be like a mage shield. You know, that's kind of what it's called in D&D. That's what it's called in loads of other things. It's the idea of like creating a magical shield around yourself. Just call it mage shield then. Save your fancy thematic naming for the uncommon cards where people are going to go, ooh, it's got a long name. Must be something impressive. Yeah, we don't get anything really happen. We've just got the feedback text for what happens in terms of numbers and stuff when you're... There's not a shield effect around the character when you get a shield either. Why does it say it's going to do 10 damage and then it does like 45 damage? Yeah, so Novice in the chat said, I don't understand what the different colour cards mean. I don't think they've got a consistent visual language for what different colour cards mean. They've gone, this is the wizard, so all their starting cards are this blue magic thing. And yeah, there is a reason why we go with like blue for defense, red for attack, you know, some other color for utility or something like that. There is a reason why we generally do that. I am struggling here because it keeps killing me whenever I don't block all of the attack, but it only says it's going to do 10 damage. So this is, you know, kind of coming back to, we've done a few talks recently about tutorialization and onboarding in games. And if you play through the first bit of Slay the Spire, like the first act really, a lot of that is teaching you, okay, these enemies don't have loads of health, but you want to block all the damage they do, otherwise you're going to have less health going on. I don't know what's happening here. I think it's trying to force me to learn to block by just killing me immediately if I don't, which is confusing because it says it's only going to do 10 damage and then it does more. So I'm not sure what you're really trying to do here, but it doesn't make sense and it doesn't work. So look, I can't block all of the damage. I'm blocking for 5. This enemy will deal great amount of damage if his health is under 25%. Okay. That is maybe too complex a rule to be introducing this early into the game. And great amount of damage is too vague. These games are generally about, like, making one of these games has a lot of decisions about what information do you make open and what information do you hide. But a value, like, if you're representing that value as something like great amount of damage, then how does that sit with everything else that you see on the screen here, where all of these numbers are very clear and kind of open, and so the player can kind of read them and calculate. So what I think I need to do to beat this one is make sure that I keep their health above 15, unless I can kind of take it all out in one go. So that's an interesting puzzle, but it seems a bit strange to have it this early on. So let's get him down to 20 or 15, and then basically on this turn, I don't want to attack because I can't do enough damage to kill him in one turn. I'm also retaining cards every turn, which feels it feels a bit arbitrary. I'm not sure why they've done that. It means that the hand of cards I get each turn isn't significant enough. Like the change, because I'm retaining the cards I didn't use. That works as a special ability, but I don't think it should be like the standard thing that happens in your standard thing that happens in a deck builder. There's a reason why you discard all of your cards at the end of a turn. Okay, take all. Okay. We got an upgraded shield that the more you use it, the more powerful it gets, basically. Well, I don't spend all the mana unless I need to, so if there's no attacks to play, then I'll stop playing, I guess. Okay, so I'm gonna take like something like 6 damage this turn. I don't know. I feel like the decision to make your cards retain at the end of your turn has been made quite arbitrarily, or the designer is just like, oh, I don't like that in deck builders I throw away my hand at the end of my turn, and they haven't necessarily thought through why that is. Because part of the purpose of that is it means that your decision you're making at each turn is quite different. Whereas if you just keep what you don't use, now that means that when I draw up to 5, it only makes like 20% difference from turn to turn. And I'm not sure that works for me. It's trying to fix something that's not broken. I don't know why you would make something that was so mechanically similar to how Slay the Spire and other games in the genre work, and then make that one change that I don't think it really adds anything. I think if anything it just makes the game feel slower and more boring, because my hand of cards each turn is just not changing significantly. It also means that, you know, if I put cards in my deck that cost lots of mana and I don't play them one turn because I'm prioritizing spending my mana on something else, I can just play them the next turn. And that might sound like, oh, that's a good design decision because it's kind to the player, but it makes the decisions less meaningful. Because it's like, well, I can't play it this turn because I need to play 3 shields. You know, I can't play this 3 mana thing this turn because I need to play 3 shields. But I'll just play it next turn instead. Right? There's a reason why you throw away your cards at the end of a turn. And this game is not doing a good job of showing me why that decision to retain the cards has been made. See, this has exhaust if not played. Right, so we've got what's that sword thing? Target deals less damage. I'm going to go for that. I'm going to go for like weakening the enemies so they do less damage each turn. Yeah, I hope I've set this chat up to save the chat, this stream up. So, basically when you set up a stream, there's like a little box you have to tick to make it save the chat. I hope this chat is saving, because I think there's quite a lot of helpful feedback for the devs here. Right, we're going to use our... Not enough armor. What? Oh, that costs armor. I see. So we're using that as a resource now. Okay, that's a neat spin on things. This one applies a curse. I'd like to put a curse on someone. So now this one is weakened, and this one's going to automatically take damage. Unblockable damage, so it's kind of like a poison mechanic. They're doing it to me as well. Curses all round. Yeah, there's lots of kind of information missing, like VFX on certain things triggering. Like someone said in the chat, when you hover a card over the enemy, you don't see a preview of the damage reduction that's going to happen from that card. There isn't stuff like when those curses triggered at the start of the enemy's turn, they took the damage. There was no fanfare about it. There was no like to show the curse triggering. So it's a shame because we've got very uneven level of polish across this whole game now, and some of this isn't polish, some of this is just visual communications. Like VFX at their base level, VFX should be there to communicate something happening, and there are lots of places where they're missing here, which one of the problems with getting a game to this level of polish, because it does look good, like I said, it looks like a high budget mobile game at the moment. It's got that kind of art style. It looks a bit Dota-y, it looks a bit sort of early Blizzard-y. And part of the problem with making everything this polished is then it sticks out like a sore thumb when you're missing stuff. Because this all looks like final art. This all looks like the final way that a game is supposed to look, but then we're missing really, really crucial bits of the UX and the VFX.
You are finally awake. The corpses on the streets have long since turned to dust and bones, and I was beginning to worry something had gone terribly wrong, leaving me stranded in the city for eternity.
Who are you, and what is this place?
Looking at you, I am once again reminded of the remarkable talent of your creator. 10 out of 10 would smash. ... Don't worry, I am Claviger, Keeper of Eternal Library, and I have something to offer you.
Soon I'll introduce you to someone else who wishes to help you as well. See the emerald mark. There's lots of avoiding colours on icons as well, which kind of looks nice when you're doing this thing of it's on a parchment, but it also makes the meaning of the symbol harder to remember. And make them deal less damage. Okay, so they're dealing 8 instead of 10. Deals back 10 damage for each. Yeah, someone in the chat just pointed out these status icons feel a bit too detailed for how big they are. I agree. Look at that. Like, why does that have a black outline around it? That is just need to be simpler. Need to be much more simple. Discover a card. It costs 0 until the first use. This is a very good power. It feels like a strange one to get early on, but I do like it because it allows you to test drive cards that aren't in your deck. And it seems thematically, like, because we're kind of playing a wizardy type character, it sort of makes sense. And it kind of feels a bit, maybe like it could be a bit broken, because that was way too powerful. Oh, I killed myself by blowing up the enemy that had bomb on it. Oh, that bomb ability. It's just not easy to remember. And it just doesn't seem like an early game thing either. Right. So that guy hurts me every time I hit him. I don't have enough defense in my deck really, and I haven't had much opportunity to modify my deck very much. So I need to defend quite a lot to attack this guy because he has like a retaliation effect. Don't know if anyone ever played any of the Shin Megami Tensei games. I played Lucifer's Call or whatever, the PS2 one. It's got a bit of that vibe here. So that is attack and gain 7 shield. That seems quite useful. Yeah, this enemy here, this ability is the bomb. So if I... the attack they deal... Huh. I don't know what happened last time. Maybe it was this one that killed me. Again, this is just not communicating stuff well, right? Whenever something happens in the game, like the player attacks the enemy triggers a ability that deals damage back, right? Or the player kills the enemy triggers an ability that when it dies it deals damage back, or whatever it is. anything that you could describe as a game event that's like a sentence like that, needs to be communicated through VFX. If stuff is just sort of happening, like, oh, a damage happens and all that happens is someone's health bar changes, that's not enough. You need to have a moment where it's very clear what's happening. And we just have quite a lot of very minimalistic VFX, or VFX that just are missing in terms of the sequence of events. I can attack him, but he's going to hurt me back again. Much too difficult, this first set of encounters as well. Is there a design approach that uses design sentences? I mean, I've never really heard it described that way, but I've definitely heard people talking about designing that way. It's gonna kill me. It's gonna kill me. Can I do... Are there any options to do a different sort of run or anything like that? Chance to evade any damage. That's not very exciting effect. Nil object. I have no idea how long the delay is on the chat, so I don't know what your unsubscribe was in relation to, but feel free. Draw a card until your hand is full again. Oh, that's a very powerful effect. I do like this ability to try out different cards that you don't have yet. I think that's a smart inclusion. I worked at a studio for a little while that made gacha games, and we used to call that a test drive mechanic. A way of, you know, you've got something that players aren't going to get their hands on for a long time, and you just give people a way to try it, and then that sort of makes them want it. Hearthstone is full of those. That's what the discover mechanic is, where you pick from cards you don't have, which is what we've got here as well. It's a welcome addition for me. I'm a big fan of like this kind of controlled randomness, where you've got a deck of cards and then some of the cards summon other cards that you don't really have, and all of that kind of stuff. I find that quite fun. So there's definitely some stuff here in the general approach that I find enjoyable, but I feel like there are just certain things that don't make sense. There's just we've got some good attack animations. It feels like the approach to the VFX is generally based around you know, what the characters are doing. Oh, this character is casting a spell, so there's a spell. But then when there's something like I've put a curse on them and the curse triggers, that doesn't have a VFX. There's just and it's not based around what needs to be communicated to the player. It's more thinking in story terms of like there are two characters fighting, and when they zap each other, we need an animation. And there are other things in the game that need animations and VFX where it's just missing. So that's probably the biggest issue I'm finding with this one so far. And I just don't think the card retaining thing makes sense. I'm not sure why that's been done. It feels like one of those things where someone has gone, oh, I wish in this game this didn't happen, but they haven't thought about why it does, which happens quite a bit. People go, oh, I would love to play this type of game, but with this fundamental feature changed, because I find it annoying or boring or something, and then they don't really realize why that feature is there. Like I say, if I pick one of these more powerful cards that costs 2 or 3, having those more powerful cards in a deck builder creates an interesting decision, because I can play 3 cards that cost 1, or I can play my 3 cost card, and if I don't play my 3 cost card, I throw it away at the end of my turn. If we make the cards retain, then that decision is kind of meaningless, because it's just, do I play it this turn or do I play it next turn? It's not meaningless, but it is a less meaningful decision because of the card retention. Applies a curse to all enemies. Yeah, we'll go for that. We'll No, Slay the Spire doesn't have things like missing. I mean, the thing that the rule that Slay the Spire sticks to very rigidly is that everything is communicated. And if it's hidden, it's like where it says, oh, the character's going to do a debuff on you, and you have to learn what debuff that character does. But everything numerical, like chances of things happening and stuff, is out in the open, and that's kind of what makes the game playable. I am going to... What does that apply? Unblockable. Loses 10% health at the start of each turn. These are all a bit useless to me at the moment. I can get Crystal Skin, which gives me block for my discard pile size, and then I can play other cards to make my discard pile bigger before I do that. Let's go down that route. I'm going to draw a card which I can't use, but I just want my discard pile to be bigger, and then I'll get armor based on the size of my discard pile. There we go. Yes. Yeah, the lack of randomness in Slay the Spire is really part of what makes that game work. Arguably, you could say it's part of what makes the genre work as well. Draw an art card. Don't know what that means. Lose 5 health. And look, this game is already too difficult to get past the first 5 combats. I don't want anything that makes me lose health. Pactum Noctis. It's a raven holding a treasure. Okay, so this heals these abilities, these debuffs, but makes... Again, the relationship between the name of the card art, the colour, and the effect is just too convoluted. When you design cards in a game like this, your goal is to create something thematic that's like flavoursome, so people go, oh, that's a cool attack, that's a cool ability. But you're not trying to confuse the player with like how smart you can be about like your magic system or something like that. It should be understandable to your player. So if you have a thing that is basically Mage Shield from D&D that is called Mage Shield in 80% of fantasy things, call it Mage Shield. Don't call it Spectrum Wankatorus or whatever. Like, call it what people will understand. This is not helpful. It is just the developers trying to be clever, and it's failing at the fundamental thing that a name and a piece of art on a card are supposed to do, which is create a mnemonic device for you to remember what that card does without having to read the rules every time. Second portent, get one of 3 options from discard pile, and this is just a piece of art we've seen on another card with a different colour. And right, I don't have enough block to last this first turn. I can draw another card that gets our block up, and now luckily we've got the card retention mechanic, so I'll be able to use my Great Prophecy next turn. But I think that loss of opportunities when you have to focus on doing one thing so you lose the opportunity for next turn is kind of what makes these games work. Just like holding something in your hand indefinitely until you can use it. I think someone in the chat mentioned there's a game that does that, but it's like if you're playing around with the maximum cards you can have in your hand, and like maybe you can only have 7 or 8, and then you've got card retention, then that's interesting, because it's like I might want to deliberately scrap some stuff to make room. But at the moment, it's just like, oh, you can just keep hold of something indefinitely until you need it. And it feels like the type of feature that players might think they want, and players might go, yeah, that's a really cool. I would love to not throw away my hand in Slay the Spire, but it just makes the decisions less interesting. I think we've had a good look at this. Hopefully, there's some stuff the developer can use. I don't know whether they'll watch this or not, but some real kind of fundamental, like, I don't know why you did this type stuff in that game at the moment. Someone... Seamus. I can't even pronounce half of what you just said. So someone in the chat earlier said about what's the difference between these and deck builders, like non-digital deck builders. So I'm gonna, sorry to everyone who's heard me go on about this before. So in Dominion, what happens in Dominion is you can pretty much explain the whole game just looking at this one picture. And there are lots of games like this. Star Realms is like this. Ascension is like this. What happens in Dominion is you start off with a deck of cards. Everyone has the same deck of cards. You have some gold. You have some other stuff. And then every turn, you just play gold to buy other cards. And the goal is you buy these cards that give you more actions and different abilities that you use on your turn. And then you're gradually reaching a point where you buy these green cards that give you victory points that win the game. And the point there is that you have to make a smart decision about when to start accumulating these victory point cards, because they kind of clog up your deck and make it slower, because they don't do anything else except for add points to your deck. And the thing I like about this old style of deck builder is you are building your deck every turn of the game, right? Whereas a lot of video game deck builders, it is actually a card dueling game. That is the core gameplay. And the role of the deck building in that is like something that happens after each combat, or something that happens between combats. And the deck building in Slay the Spire, in Roguebook, in Monster Train, it's not really the core gameplay that you're doing every turn. It's actually like a replacement for a skill tree or a level up screen or something like that. And that's fine. It's like created its own genre that I really enjoy, but we haven't seen many people go back to this format in video games, and I think it's because it's a fundamentally multiplayer format. But if you play, if you've got UFO 50 and you play Party House, Party House is an example of this old style of deck builder in a video game, because in Party House, every round of gameplay you are manipulating your deck. Now this might not look, these don't look like cards, so it would be very easy to play this game and not realize you're playing a deck builder card game, but you are. It's like you are inviting characters to your party, and some of them give you money, some of them give you popularity, some of them have other little abilities. But this this game in the UFO 50 collection is the closest thing I've seen to a new video game that uses the old deck builder format, which isn't just like a dueling card game where you build your deck between matches. So that's my nerding out about deck builders and what I would like to see more of. But you know, that's a kind of thing where it would kind of really require people to be experimenting quite a lot, because it's a thing that hasn't really been done much. Okay, let's get some pirating. Let's get some pirating on. It's called the Night Watch here. It's called Waves Ahoy here. And it's called Fata Morgana up here. So it's had lots of different names. And I've been taking the mick out of this a little bit at the start of the stream, but I think that's a good thing. I think you should never just stick with the game all the way through the project, because that's stick with a name for too long just because that's the name. You should experiment with different names. It is time to do some pirating. We've got some nice hand-drawn stuff. We've got some pirate music. My name is Marina Bannatyne. I'm 11 years old. At first glance, my friends and I seem like normal, ordinary kids. We're not, we're pirates. The most famous and feared pirates in the world. And I swear, what I'm about to tell you is the absolute truth. It all started with a mysterious captain they call Saltpeter the Broken Leg. Like all mysterious captains, Broken Leg had a secret. This here map leads to the cursed island of Fata Morgana. Arr, he said. On that forsaken rock be hiding the greatest treasure ever to grace the seas. Gold, precious jewels, and rum aplenty. This is what all 11-year-olds sound like. This is what Bristolian 11-year-olds sound like. But the best of it be this. According to legends, the treasure grants the wildest dreams to whoever finds it. Although I'm not sure why I'm even telling you all this. No one who's ever followed this map has returned to tell the tale. Not a chance a bunch of little scallywags could possibly succeed, as is One Piece, but everyone is red-headed. One Piece meets the Wild Thornberrys. I think that's what we're going for. Yeah, I mean, the classic Long John Silver voice is a West Country voice, but I just can't be bothered to do the growl at the same time, because there's gonna be too much reading for that. Gold, jewels, rum. A treasure which grants the wildest dreams. What a deadly challenge on top. How could we resist? I already said we're pirates. As soon as old Broken Leg handed us the map, Thomas George and I set sail. We lived through a billion adventures, triumphed over hundreds of dangers. We travelled the entire world in search of the One Piece and its legendary treasure, until one day, Fata Morgana found us. Crash, crack, super boom. That monster tore our ship the long voyage to pieces. Thomas George and I got separated. I'm just going to say it. Charming art. Charming story concept. Not sure that I want this much story at the start of a deck builder. But that's fine. I just think it's worth thinking about how tolerant of different volumes of story an audience for a particular genre are going to be. But I try to go into these things without too many assumptions. So maybe it is a story game that has a deck builder in it. Okay, so lovely map. Too much up front, yeah. Ahoy, I'm Marina, ready to set sail with me, R. And the thing is, I think people get sunk cost problems with that kind of stuff, because it's like, well, we've made all these images for the introduction. It's like, well, yeah, but that doesn't really mean you need to keep them in the game in that format, you know? You could scrap a lot of that introduction and then bring those images somewhere else in the game as interstitial things, because if, like, let's just say I've got 10 images made for my game, beautiful illustrations, and I put them all in the introduction. That is a point in the game where most players just want to get to the game. So the purpose they're serving there is, like, some people it might really enthrall them and get them involved, but most people want to just play the game so that they know that they like the core activity of the game before you throw too much story at them. So if you think of those images in terms of, like, I'm going to be gross here and be a business guy and say return on investment. Right? Imagine how much time or money you've spent on those images. If you put them later on in the game at checkpoints where it's like you've completed 5 battles, you're at a shop now, here's a lovely image, then you're framing the image as a reward, right? Rather than something that is getting in the way of the gameplay, because you've played the game a little bit and now you get to see the beautiful image, and now the beautiful image feels like a reward. So if we took all of that story information and put it later in the game and presented it as flashbacks or something like that, then it would be a reward for getting a certain way in the game, and it would be mentally completely, like, framed completely differently for the player at that stage. I am ready to set sail with you, Marina. Don't ye worry, I'll help ye out. Hee hee, let's begin. See, she was talking like a pirate in the intro, but now she's putting scare quotes around her yees. Play crew cards to the board to clear the waves of enemies across the 5 lanes of the board. Okay, try playing some cards. I've got some pirates. I've got cabin boys. My pirates cost 2 clams. Clams as the clams as the kind of mana energy resource. Big fan of that. No notes. These guys can do 4 damage, so I'm going to sacrifice a cabin boy in that row. Your shells replenish each turn. And then I think these pirates can do 4 damage, if that's what that means. So I'll put one of those there. Yes, exactly. Story up front just doesn't make sense for a lot of indie games, I don't think. After your turn, enemies will get closer. This time there's an active enemy, so it will attack when you end your turn. Make sure you to place a crew card in that lane or attack your health directly. This setup and the way things are moving is such a good combination with this sort of art decision to have the waves this way. It's really smart because you are creating a nice visual effect, but it's also the board of the game, right? So we've got an inscription type board where characters advance down the grid, and then we're using this art thing with the waves to kind of emphasize that. One change I would make here, and it's an art change, but it would also help a lot with legibility, is make every other lane a darker blue. So we have pale blue, dark blue, pale blue, dark blue, because it's just going to make it a lot easier to see which character is on which lane then if we're staggering the colours a little bit. Because at the moment it's like it gets a bit harder to at a glance tell where they all are, but that's a really neat kind of putting together of a particular way of showing stuff in art terms and like the information of the game and stuff all at the same time. Arsonist girl, she's a 3/1, so he's going to take care of them, and then he's going to need replacing because that's going to kill him. I want to put the cheapest person I can in this corner because that's only got 1 health. So I'll put another cabin boy down there. And then everyone else only has 1 health, so I may as well just play them anywhere, which is a shame. I love the bell for the next turn as well. It is an Excel readability tip, yeah. All video games are just Excel. Every crew card has power and health. Yep. I understand that. It's just Magic the Gathering. See that little symbol on that enemy? It's a special ability. Okay. Overwhelm. Excess damage from this enemy is dealt to your health. Okay. Hopefully that is the overwhelm symbol and I can learn that symbol and then I don't have to read it every time. I know we had a game being worked on in the Discord that was a deck builder, and one of the issues they had is they'd given all debuffs the same symbol, which meant you had to mouse over every single one to see what it was. But hopefully that's not the case here. Right. What are these? Adjacent crew cards. Oh, okay. We can start to buff stuff. So I would like this guy to last because he cost a bit. Can I move these? I can't move them around once they're down. So I'm going to put a starfish on him. Oh. That's not what I wanted to do. I got rid of him. Forever. I wasted my 2-cost card. So I don't really know how you avoid players doing that, but I think you need some sort of state to say, hey, this is going to replace this, because that wasn't clear. Okay, I'm going to just do that so I'm boosting as many of them as I can with the stars. Hey, Jokester. This one's got 7-2 now. Right, these guys are useless after you've used them once. So I'll replace these. Right, so he's gonna beat that. She's gonna beat that. Yeah, everyone's alright. I can just leave it. I don't need to do anything on that last turn. Look at these lovely characters. Yeah, it should ask if you're sure, at least the first time. So the dolphin is a 1/4 that can't defend on its first turn. It can be moved around as well, so it's just like a flexible card that can be moved around. So the cards that stun, that basically mean that you can't use them straight away, they give you a better value effect, but they cost less, kind of thing. I'm going to go for the dolphin. So this is... I feel like I get what they're doing with the coins here, but maybe having colour on the icons or burnishing it a particular colour is going to make these a bit quicker at a glance. Pay to remove a card from your deck or buy new crew cards. Get an item for one of your crew cards. Look at that, that's lovely. We're digging for treasure. I don't need health that bad. Sketchy stuff. Crew card gains 3/3 and when played stun this. Crew card becomes a pirate and gains 1/1. Crew card gains 1/1 and when played... when played you may move this. Does that mean you may move at any turn? Because that when played is like the moment that you play it. So I don't understand the move. Do they mean swap? When they say move, do they mean swap it with another card? In which case it should say swap. Let's level up an Arsonist Girl. Yeah, it's very Monkey Island, that nighttime one. You can look ahead to see incoming enemies using the mouse wheel or arrow keys. Okay. Gotcha. Right. Cabin boy there. Pirate there. Oh no, I don't want to put him down yet. Cancel that. One of them. And... okay. Not doing so good this turn. It's almost like the second combat is harder than the first one. Who'd have thought it? Right. Stun guy over there. Why does it let me move it immediately after I've played it? I don't see the value of doing that. Unless it's something you can swap with another character. That said, that character was going to merge into that character and sort of make them bigger, but I'm not sure why that was the case. Is that something unique to that enemy, or... not sure. So its damage is going through and getting me. Starfish there, that puts her damage up to 5, so it should take it out this turn. And I take 1 damage. Look at him! Look at that axolotl! See, much better to have the placeholder art in the game just obviously placeholder. It just makes it so much clearer what I'm looking at. Jellyfish makes enemies in the lane weaker. Yeah, why not? Crew cards cost 1 less. Crew card gains when played. Draw 2 cards. Restore some health. That's what I want. And stun enemy in lane when played. Maybe I'll put that on a starfish because the starfish is like, when you play the starfish, you're kind of making your own life more difficult because you don't have any attack in that lane. So adding a stun to the starfish is probably a good idea. Okay, so he's stunned, which means he doesn't deal any damage. It's not very clearly communicated once they're on the board, though. We've got some big boys coming up here. Yeah, I don't want to put it down and then move it immediately. I don't really understand that mechanic yet. So I stunned this lane, I think. But it's not very clear when something's been stunned. Maybe it's only that turn, but there's no symbol for it. Yeah, I can't tell if they're just stunned for that turn or if they're stunned for longer. It's not super clear. I love the way that the kind of game space is mapped out with the camera movements and everything. It's really, really... It's very clear what's happening, and it's also just quite charming. Your boat was destroyed. This isn't a very nice font choice. It feels very taped on this screen. Okay. Enjoyable so far. There are a few things where it feels like we're missing some little symbols and stuff like that. Unlocked new cards. But I already feel like the decisions I'm making in this game are a little bit more meaningful than in the last game. Both in the match itself and between islands or whatever. This guy's got a little shield. So I think what they've done, we've got these mechanics like shield and stuff. I think they just randomly added to certain combats. Which, if this is still, they're still at a stage where they're trying to test the core game mechanics, and if people understand them, then it makes sense not to structure the challenges too much. Just let people play it, and then don't get too into doing like loads of different design of what enemies show up when and with what abilities and stuff like that. It's making me go through all the tutorial text and stuff even though I'm still in the same session, which is a little bit annoying. Pick this up with a crew card. Is that a crew? I think it is a crew. I think a crew is anything that goes down here. Pirate. If I put a star there, and now that star can attack. Is there a turn off tutorials in the setting? Oh, good question. No. No, there's not. Lovely menu, though. Lovely illustration across the board. Lots of... We've got some sort of uneven line widths and stuff that feel a bit strange in some places, but I really, really like the art style. Love the way that these... If you look at the cards, can you see that effect on the lines? It's kind of like... they call it line boil. Like on old Beavis and Butthead had this. You have like a static character, but all the lines around the edges that look like they're boiling, which is why it's called line boil. I really like that effect. Maybe it's done digitally here with like a shader, or it's just like printing the sprite behind itself so that it looks like it's its own shadow or something like that. I don't know how they've done it, but it looks really cool. Works very well with the sort of illustration-y style. Why do they look much more finished? That's an interesting question. I think there's generally there's basically, once you get to the point where the game is playable, then a lot of the art is just like what is on the cards, you know? Turn someone into a pirate. I want a pirate axolotl. Don't know what that did really, but I think when the tutorial text is up and you can't click on anything, it would be helpful to have like a slightly darkened vignette over the rest of the game. Because I've had that a couple of times where she's saying something to me. Because it's up there, I'm already trying to play the game and I'm looking down here. And there's nothing else to indicate that the reason why I can't click on things is because we're in a tutorial stop. So just having like some kind of tint or something that just makes the white speech bubble pop out and goes behind it and sort of visually explains why I can't click on stuff. Because that's happened quite a few times for me now. He makes the crew next to him stronger. I like the way they fly off when you knock them out as well. That was great. Okay, this is one of my favourite things in card games generally, is when you've got a character that can't attack because they're just like an egg or something, and then you use some other character to boost them, and now they can attack. It's just something that it kind of tickles me. It makes me laugh a little bit. I played Magic the Gathering did a set of D&D themed cards, and have a friend that works in a trading card shop, and we do a box draft occasionally when a new thing comes out. We did it with the D&D ones, and one of the things you could do with the Druid deck, the green deck, was turn a land, like a green land is a forest, turn it into a creature, and then just keep growing it bigger and bigger. And I think I won one match by just having this forest that was just a massive monster that was whomping someone. I just really like the idea of having a game where you've got characters fighting, and then you can use magic to turn an inanimate object into a character, and then make them behave like a character. It just makes me chuckle. You get it quite a lot in Hearthstone with like egg decks. You used to get Druid egg used to be one of the Hearthstone archetypes. You get these eggs that have no attack value, but when they die they do something, and then you deliberately give them attack so that they can attack, and it just gives me a funny mental image of like an egg with little feet sticking out the bottom of it, like running around. Pirate Bomber, look at him. When played, deal 1 damage to the closest enemy in this lane for each pirate on. Oh yeah, we're gonna go for the pirate synergy for sure. Give me as many rats as possible. Do you want to provide a sacrifice? We're gonna sacrifice the cabin boy. Can I sacrifice 2 things, or is that a UI glitch? I'll select up to 2 cards. Yeah. There will be streams again, Luke. Have no fear. There were probably more than 2 deck builders in my backlog. It's just these 2 were ones that looked interesting. Right. Have you got any pirates? You've got no pirates. I'm gonna have a hedgehog. A ghost cartographer. I want him as well. We just want all the weirdos. Monsters? Okay. I've got 1 turn to get everything filled up. I've got my axolotl to... He can go between people and sort of make them more powerful. So if I pop these 2 here and then axolotl them... Actually, they're still going to get knocked out because they've only got 2 health. So that was a little bit of a waste. Little bit of a waste. Maybe I'll boost them 1 more time. I'm going to take 1 damage from... Or 2 damage from this one. That's not a bad start. Cabin boy there. He's going to last and take both of these out. And then a cabin boy there. No chance to play my pirates yet. Math rats. When played, you get 2 shells. When this leaves the board, permanently remove it from your deck. Okay. I'll take the extra shells. And then we'll go... Starfish there. And starfish there. It's a very tight space. Just these 5 slots. I'll put my pirate bomber over there. That does 1 damage to him. We needed a little VFX there. Like there's a when played. Whenever they've got a when played condition, that ability needs to trigger and show us that something has happened, because otherwise people will play it and just forget. All of that stuff helps people learn the game and helps people remember how to play the game. I think that's a bit of a theme of today's stream. VFX have a information function. They are not just to make something exciting, or because, you know, there's fire because there would be fire. It's not about that. It is an information part of your game that allows people to understand what's happening. Last game had lots of that missing. This game has a little bit of it missing. Right, we're going to boost that one. Both these guys boost their neighbours. The crab and the axolotl will both make their neighbours stronger. So I only need these lanes covered now. Or hang on, do these guys cover 2 lanes? I hadn't really factored for that. Yeah, okay. They attack both of the lanes they're in. So I need to just make sure he doesn't get through this time. I think it's going to still kill me because... Oh yeah, he didn't have the ability where the damage goes through. I was assuming they all had that ability, but it's only the ones with the little tooth on. VFX is part of an interface, yes. Exactly. New crew member will join us. Select which one. Pirate Captain. Davy Jones. We're going pirates, and when we can't have a pirate, we're going to have a weirdo. That's the strategy. This is kind of what I was talking about with the last game, where the cards didn't have a very clear theme, and it just seemed like they were named like magic in a fantasy book, right? Where it's all flavor, and what you need in these games is for the theme and the mechanics to match up. So if there's a synergy, it should be easy for the players to intuit the synergy based on what the cards are called, what the arts are, and stuff like that. So here we've got a very clear synergy where it's pirates synergize with pirates. But it might be something like, I don't know, all of the fire stuff goes together, and you don't need to explicitly use the keyword fire. It just works together very well. But the last game was designed, a lot of the kind of direction of the content design of what the cards were called, what their art looked like, didn't really enable that. It didn't lead to that very easily. Archetypes, yes, exactly. Yeah. And it's, you know, it's always a noble thing to try and avoid the cliches and go, oh, I'm not just going to do fire and ice, or I'm not going to do aggro and control or whatever. But you do also have to just, you know, be conscious of the role that naming things and illustrating them plays in allowing players to understand your game and remember what things do and all of that kind of stuff. Someone can serve drinks. I think it's going to be one of these rascals. Arsonist girl, do your thing. This background music reminds me of Iron and Wine, like a sort of folk rock. Could totally be an Iron and Wine song. I think we're going to lose that money. Yeah. Oh well. It's not like pirates care about money or anything like that. died. I died. I died. Trying to work out which of these I like more. I really like this one. I like the charm of it. It's going to need a lot more content variation to sort of work as a full game, because at the moment it's like all of the... Part of the issues with doing a naval-based thing is like, how do you make it feel like you're in a different place when it's just the sea? Right? It could be that you get through an area and you go from the blue sea to the orange sea, and then you go to the purple sea or something like that. You can do that kind of stuff. You can change the ambience and everything. Wondering what the variations in the enemies would be. Also, they're just all red. Just kind of... What's going on there? Here, on this screenshot, we can see there's another layer here. I don't know if they've taken that out to simplify it, but we didn't have that at all when we played. Interesting. The pirate ships fly through space. Yeah, that could be like the ascension thing. Like you complete the 3 main areas, and if you do some special thing, then you get the space, the Spelljammer version, the D&D Spelljammer. Spelljammer is this. It's the D&D setting where you have galleons that go through space, because why not? Why wouldn't you? Yeah, a couple of VFX missing. Obviously, placeholder art in a lot of places, but a big sense of like what variety there is there to build your deck with. And I would have liked to have seen or spotted more synergies early on. Of we saw the pirates. That's a nice theme. I kind of wanted to collect those guys. I didn't see any other obvious themes jump out in terms of sets of things. Like it is an imaginary ship. Yeah, you could just go to other places with it if you wanted to, or down a river. But yeah, I didn't see lots of different opportunities for different synergies to come out of the cards yet, apart from the pirates. So I would have liked to have seen a little bit more of that. Yeah, this is an interesting screenshot. I don't know what's going on with these blue cards. I think maybe there was a version that had more complicated different types of cards, and they've stripped it back. Very strange. Let's see if it's on Steam as well, actually. I wanna just investigate that a little bit more, because it looks like they've sort of added stuff and then gone back on it. So our demo that we played didn't have this row of cards. And for a moment then I thought, well, maybe the screen was cut off, but I didn't get any blue cards either. So maybe they just want to test the core mechanics, and maybe they found an issue with that aspect. So ghost ships, I think there was we got an undead character, but I think the theming around the undead characters is that they're all ethereal, so you can only play them once and then they're gone. That was what the ghost guy we got did. Yeah, I'm intrigued by the blue cards as well. Yeah, I like this one. I think making the ambient music not great after a while is going to be difficult as well, because like pirate music is notoriously jaunty. But I quite like that one. Let's take another look at the Steam page for Arcane Path. And then I think, because this stream hasn't gone on as long as I normally schedule for these streams, I think we maybe we'll do some Party House for 20 minutes, because I want more people to make variants of Party House. Arcane Path visually looks alright. There's nothing super appealing about the visuals of this. It just looks like reasonably well executed, like middle of the road fantasy art. And that's not me dissing it or anything, but it's not the sort of thing I get excited about. It feels like Blizzard type stuff. And this just, there were VFX missing here that made it harder to understand what was going on in the game. The early enemies in this, their abilities are too complex. There's just a few enemies with fiddly abilities that you need to work around, like damage return and stuff like that, that are just introduced too early. And the cards are just trying to be way too clever in terms of like what's in the picture, what's in the name. Just go for the more obvious choice of what they're called. But even then, I think like if we go back through this video, there's a lot of like asset reuse in places where you really need a different image. So we've got like this blue card with a shield on it. If we go back a little bit, there was just the same thing recolored, you know. There's a lot of that, just like the same image recolored to mean a different thing or an upgrade of a thing. And I don't know, I think that this team haven't really thought about how cards function in a card game. And like the way that I think the way a card works in a deck builder or in a Magic the Gathering or something is, you know, here are the rules to play the game, and here is the cost. And after a while, you don't need to read this anymore because you know what the card does based on its name and its image. But if you call a card Nature's Roar when it could just be called Shock, it's going to take longer for people to remember what it does because it's just not as clear and obvious. And yeah, I think you can give things kind of fancy names when they are rarer things, but when it's like a card you're using all the time, it's just not super clear. Although this is that an upgrade of the blue version, or they've just changed the colors at various points. I don't know. I don't know if these cards are illustrated or if they're generated or whatever, but I just don't think the images and the imagery and the names do a very good job of communicating what the card does. It's like they've gone in for this flavorful style of like, oh, this game is all about arcane magic systems and stuff, and just kind of forgotten that the art and the name are supposed to be mnemonic devices to help you remember. Jokester commenting on the capsule art. This one? Yeah, I think they really just need to tone down the earlier enemies in this, and a few things where you can just beat them in a couple of hits. I think there's some decisions that they've made in this that are about some sort of underlying design philosophy that I just don't share, you know, because the Slay the Spire intro sequence is like you bop your way through a couple of enemies, and it's really about just how much little chip damage you take early on, and they seem to have just gone all in with making this really you know, really kind of really challenging puzzles in the early stages, which you got to bear in mind that you're playing with RNG, you're playing with the luck of the draw. So if you've got then enemies very early on that are like doing stuff like returning damage to you, and you've got no shield and stuff, that feels really bad for that to happen in the first 3 or 4 rounds, because it doesn't feel like a product of how I've built my deck. And if I play this Slay the Spire and I get like halfway through a run and then I have a really bad combat, it kind of feels like that's not just the RNG, that's how I've built my deck has led to that situation. Whereas if stuff's killing me in the first 5 rounds because I just didn't draw enough defense that turn, then we're just punishing the player too early on. And that's going to appeal to some people who want a harder experience, but I don't know. I think What people generally want is an easy experience in the early part of a game so that they can be challenged by the later part of the game, and then as they get better and better, then they want that extended into having like New Game Plus, Ascension modes and all of that stuff. They don't necessarily want the first 30 minutes of the game to be brutally hard when they're just trying to get into it. Sorry, I've just got work people in my WhatsApp. It's also not a dude. It's like a half-naked robot lady ghost in the shell type thing, which is fine, whatever. But it feels a bit fan servicey, you know. You know that classic thing of trying to make a character look as naked as possible, but then going, well, actually, it's not a body. It's her armor. It just looks like that. I'm not a prude about these things, but it just can feel a bit daft, you know. Last 20 minutes. Last 20 minutes. We're going to see if I've got a... He's 5,000 years old. See if I've got a mode in Party House that I haven't finished yet. I can't see it. Can't see it anymore. They deleted it. There he is. There he is. Party alien. Look at that. That's what a title screen should look like. So high and low are unbeaten. I haven't even beaten the basic alien invitation one. Okay. We'll do a go of alien invitation and then magical night. So this is when I was moaning earlier that no one makes deck builders in the style of Dominion and stuff. And this is the closest thing that a video game has come to that, I think. And I do wonder if it was built around the same sort of thing of like someone being like, why are all these video game deck builders just a duel with deck building in between rounds? Okay, so what happens in this game, if you haven't played UFO 50, is it's like a collection of 50 games for a fictional console from like the late 80s. And what happens here is basically that house, well, that door, this is my house. We're inside my house. I'm throwing a party. And that wall is how many people can fit in the party. And every time I open the door, I'm going to draw a card out from my people. And then the population and money is going to go up. But we don't want the police to come, which some people coming to the party is going to bring the police, which is this X. I think we need 3 X's to go bust. Yeah. So we've got 2 X's, which means the next X will make the party go bust. And then we don't gain any of the things from throwing the party. You see the cat is getting angry with me now. It is like Quacks of Quedlinburg as well, yeah, which is like drawing little tiles out of a bag. Because it has that blackjack quality of like you can go bust on it, which I quite like. So the yellow cost is how much popularity we need to get that character. And in order to beat this game, we need to get 4 stars, which means we need to get the alien and then draw him from the deck a bunch of times. And we only have 24 days in which to do that. So I've got 4 popularity, so I can get one 4 cost or 2 costs. I'm just going to go for... I'm going to play it safe. I'm going to go for 2 of these basic guests just to water down the amount of trouble we get, and then I'm going to start expanding the house, which is the only thing that costs dollars, and then that lets you draw more cards. Okay. All of the naughty people that cause trouble at the parties have purple hair as well, which I don't know if that tracks for you, but I'm gonna add a rock star. He's trouble, but he's popularity and cash. And then we just need to make sure we mitigate the trouble that we add to the deck with other stuff. Do I push it? Do I push it? Cops. Who gets the blame? Him. He's going to be temporarily banned for one party. That'll do. That'll do. Is there anything good we can get for a 5 or a 6? This guy looks cool. He brings a guest. I've never really understood that mechanic. It's just the same as drawing again, isn't it? The monkey doesn't have purple hair, yeah. That's true. He allows us to fetch a specific guest. You can get a hippie that adds 1 popularity, and the white flag reduces the trouble by 1. Or we can have a security, lets you boot someone out. I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to save my 2 points of popularity for next time. Fine. Oh, it costs 3 now. I forgot that the price went up. See, the dancers are like a set building thing. And if you get 4, you get 16 popularity in one go. Ticket taker lets you get more money. Maybe I should get that early on, so that we can expand the house quicker. Hey man, you used to be cool. I remember when your parties didn't cost any money. Now we have to have tickets. I'm trying to know if this is supposed to have any... I'll turn the music off. There we go. Can't play a party game with no music. There you go, that's much better. Made the house bigger now. It's time to throw another party. Got 19 days left. It sounds nightmarish. It's like 20 a month of parties. I was probably like playing like an RP version of it where I changed the music to what I think they're actually listening to, you know. Having a 9 Inch Nails party or something like that. More money wouldn't hurt. It's a real kind of balancing act, trying to get enough money to expand. I'm going to end it there. I played it so much, I still haven't got the gold award for completing all the scenarios. I haven't completed the first scenario. I think I got bored of trying to complete the first scenario, and the reason why I like this type of deck builder is the amount that you manipulate your deck is just like, it's constant. You do a very quick thing and then you change the deck, and then you do a very quick thing and then you change the deck. And that means you really feel the shifts in the probabilities. And in the kind of standard way of doing video game deck builders, you don't get that so much, because it's like you're playing a little combat for 3 to 5 minutes between each time you edit the deck. Oh no! It's the feds. It's the feds. Who gets the blame? That guy. We know it was that guy, but that guy brings money to the party. So, although I would like to blame that guy because I know he caused the most trouble, I'm gonna look at this guy with his with his purple drank. He's gonna be temporarily banned. That'll have to do. We've got a lot of money now, though. So I don't know. I can't remember if it's any of the other scenarios use money for anything else, but I only have housing improvements to spend it on here. Get another bouncer. We're going to turn this into a real commercial operation. Come on, man. This is why I don't gamble. I will always push it. I will always push my luck. Okay, I've got 2 bouncers this time. We can kick some people out. There we go. So the bouncer, that orange boot, is the one-shot ability to kick someone out. You're a sellout, man. You're a sellout. I remember when we used to party for the love of partying. And now, you make us pay $1 to just come in your house and stand next to a plant. Get rid of one of these losers. So you can only buy 1 house upgrade per turn, so there's no point in trying to like stockpile loads of money, really. I don't think. So now I should start going for the dancers, I think, because they're the best way of... Well, I think they're the best way of getting lots of popularity in one go on this scenario. Boot! Nice. Let's keep going. More dancers, more house. And this guy who lets you fetch a specific guest will be good to synergize with the dancers, because when we've got to a point where we've got 4 dancers and we want to draw them all each time, then being able to deliberately pick one of them to come out would be good. Ah! Should have listened to the cat. Who gets the blame? It's your turn this time. Wild Buddy. That's their real name. Kick that guy. Don't like the way he looked at me. Okay, we've got 2 dancers. I'm gonna kick the other security guard because he doesn't add anything. He doesn't bring anything, he's just posing now. Imagine hiring a security guard for the entire night and they were like, I will only kick 1 person out. Anything else is overtime. I think we might be on track. I don't want to curse it. I've just already cursed it by saying I think we're on track. Use him to kick him out, and then... No, that didn't help. Running out of days. Running out of days. Let's go to the auctioneer. Who should we boot out? Get rid of him. I really like the idea as well that one security guard does their job and then the other security guard kicks them out. That's very amusing. And maybe another valet or driver or whatever he's called. One more of them. It's time to throw another party. Come on. I should probably push until I've got enough money for another renovation. The rising pitch of the bleeps to stress you out is I'm gonna hold there. Still want to get enough stuff to actually do something between rounds, you know. There's no way I'm getting that alien 4 times in my remaining 5 days, though. Which I think is probably the flaw of this game, is you just sort of hit a point where you know that you can't really do it, but then you feel like you need to push on. Let's just fill the party with monkeys and rock stars at the last minute and see what happens, because I'm not going to win, so... There we go. It was a monkey what done it. Ossifer. Ossifer, take that monkey away. Didn't even have an invite. You really pay through the nose for gambling too much in this. It's more strategy than tactics. There is not like a match that you are playing with your cards per se. There are a couple of abilities to trigger, and this isn't exactly like how Dominion works. You do a lot more in your turn of playing your cards in Dominion, but this is still closer to that than it is to Slay the Spire or something like that. We're going to try a quick run of the Magical Night one, but I'm going to be playing super fast because I need to get off and resolve some sort of work thing. The Introvert gives you popularity for each empty space, which I think is quite funny. Because you can get him at the end and then just have a massive house and just draw him and then end the party. Go, right, the Introvert's happy. Everyone go home. The Cupid lets you boot out 2 adjacent guests, which is funny. Open door and score guests. Okay. Foolish. So the greeter lets you get double points for someone because you score them once when they come through the door and then you score them at the end. So at least I got the points for that character even though the party got shut down. Gonna get the watchdog. I do think you can screw this game up very, very early on by just having a bad start. Yeah. Can't help myself. And it's such an easy odds, because it's just 3 and you're out, right? It's not like a hard thing to calculate. It's just the time pressure in this is just so big. Right, we want to build up to get the guest. The unicorn and the ghost both have like a positive effect that they do as well. Nice. Maybe I need to get more of the greeter. The greeter seems like a good... Right, I'll let Wild Buddy in. I'm going to be good and not push on that last space. This stream is my intervention on being bad at gambling. Right, we'll go for a Cupid. That's quite fun. We can get rid of 2 at the same time. Get another greeter. Yeah, save the dog. Yeah, I will. I'll save the dog. I won't use him straight away. I'll use him now. Kind of pointless to use him now, but when you get the whole space unlocked, you get a lot more kind of choices over these things. Right, she brings 2 guests, which can crash your game. Basically, the characters that bring other characters can kind of crash things because they make the party too big and then you go bust as well. Every entry adds 1 popularity. Get her early, because she gets more strong the longer the game goes on. She does that little squee. You are gonna make the dog and the naughty person go home. That was better. Much better. And I'm not gonna get anything new this time. I'm just gonna save up now. Yeah, I kind of like when you've got... Dicey Dungeon is a good example of this as well. When you have quite an abstract game with a little bit of theme and character. So when you use the abilities in funny ways, it sort of creates a little story in your head because there's not much happening on the screen, right? So when I get one of my bouncers to kick out the other bouncer, that feels like a funny little story to me. I like games that can generate that sort of thing. Let's try and get the... Maybe we'll try and get the dancers as well. We've still got 14 days, so... Okay, and then we're going to use this guy to kick out this one and this one. Okay, I'll stick at that. I think we need more money, really. She's risky because she can crash, like, make the party too full, but can always use the dog. Oh, that's kind of what a good place to use the dog is, to make sure that we don't pull her when we're nearly out of space. So if I do the dog now, yeah. I didn't play much of Dicey Dungeons actually. I've got it. I think I've got it on Steam, but I need to dive back into it at some point. Let's get some more money people in, just so we've got a better chance of building the board out a bit more. Made the Cupid remove themselves. That'll do. Made the Cupid remove themselves again. Nice, that was good. Right, keep going. I think maybe the... whatever she's called, the socialite that gets more powerful the more times you pull her. I think maybe it's better to just pull the same one multiple times than it is to have loads of copies of her. I'm not sure. Swap star and star guest and non-star guest. I don't think I got to choose a star guest then. No star guests in Rolodex. Oh no. Okay. I need to set a guest to be my star guest. Okay, we're a bit closer to winning this time. Let me have a look. Star guest should be someone who gives us lots of points. It should be you. How do I set my star guest? Ah, these are star guests. Oh, okay, that makes sense. I'm a fool. Okay, we're going to be able to afford one next time as long as I don't go bust, so... just need to not do anything stupid. Oh, no! Oh, poop. Wild Buddy, get out of here. Wasn't even Wild Buddy's fault, but, you know. Boy who cried wolf and all that. Right, now we can get one of the star guests who can chase people at the party. That's better. I like it when you're fashionably early so that I don't have to deal with as much of your nonsense. Yep, that's where people go when they can't come in the party. The void. No more spending. No more spending resources. Yeah. That's great. I'm gonna kick out you and you. And I'm gonna kick out you. There we go. Bigger house. Dancers. Ah! This is the closest I've got to winning this one. And we got that far mostly because you guys were telling me not to hit on 2 troubles. But you just get desperate when you got 3 days left. You got 3 days. I need 4 stars. I've got no stars. Got 2 days. Don't even have enough popularity to get another ghost. Right. I'm kicking out you. The stars don't accumulate as well. You have to get the 4 in that one day. They go back down. Terrible. Which means you have to have 4 of that card, or you can't. You just can't do it. Kicking people out for not being cool enough now. Sorry, folks. I'm not going to win it. In time, you will come to know the full whatever of my failings. Darkest Dungeon UFO 50 crossover we didn't know we needed. Really close game. Yes. Yes. Right, folks. Thank you for joining today. The actual stream games were Waves Ahoy and Arcane Path. And then we had some UFO 50 as a little palate cleanser. What are we doing next week? Let me have a look. Next week we have the community monthly on Tuesday, and that is when I just stream games from members of our Discord, and we try and fit as many as we can into 2 or 3 hours. So that community monthly is the probably only stream where you'll see me play games in progress more than once, because Indies Under the Knife get lots and lots of games sent, can only play them once really. That one is rolling, so anyone who's in our Discord, you can submit games to that. If you're new to if you've joined the Discord, if you're a Patreon supporter and you want to submit your game to that, have a look at the playtesting and QA channel in the Discord. It's a pinned form that you can put your games up for that. That's next Tuesday, and then next Thursday, on Thursday weekly stream, the Indies Under the Knife thing is a couple of games that have JRPG combat or something like it. Some sort of turn-based combat that I normally associate with JRPGs. We've got Eclipse Breaker, Dark Cards of Candlewood, and Astral Arena next time. And they're all the types of games that I looked at and thought, oh no, it's Pokemon. Oh no, it's Final Fantasy. Which is like a kind of a style of doing combat that I just generally bounce off of and find I struggle with, which is interesting because Darkest Dungeon is one of my favourite games, and that falls in that category. So I've titled next week's stream, "Can they make me like JRPG combat?" And the answer is no. You'll never make me like it. Taking turns. Ugh. If a game like this was released today, do you think it would do any good? Ooh, Larry Knight. If you're a man with limited funds and you had to buy one game design book, what would it be? It would be called Z-Lib. That's the only book you need. is zlib? Very difficult question. And some of it depends on how you like to learn. So first 3 books we've done on the podcast. I'm doing a podcast now for people that like books but can't buy all the books. Game Developers Library. First book we did, Spelunky by Derek Yu. Highly recommend that book, especially if you know the game very well. This is the developer talking about one game they made, why they made it and stuff for a very long period of time. Loads of design insights, jumping backwards and forwards between how the game is coded, the design thoughts behind it, what the developer is responding to in terms of what they like and don't like in games, all of that kind of stuff. This is such a good, like, learning about design through a specific project type thing. Raf Costa, Theory of Fun. Oh,
hello.
Getting Inception. Raf Costa's Theory of Fun. I liked this when I first read it. Didn't get on with it great this time. Next month we're doing Jesse Schell's Art of Game Design, which I do think is the book I would recommend to answer your question. But I know some people don't get on well with it. And part of it is because it's a book that tells you to do things a particular way. And if you just read the book and don't do the things that it's asking you to do, then it's not going to help you. But the Jesse Schell book, A Book of Lenses, is the one that we're going to be doing an episode in a couple of weeks. Book in Lens. And part of it is it's like a whole framework for thinking about games as you design them. And one of the things you're supposed to do is that it has this deck of cards that goes with it that you can get as a free app. I think there's an online version of it. I've got the deck of cards that go with it. I thought there was an online version of the deck of cards. They're these. And the idea is these are like Brian Eno's Oblique Strategies, which is like, it's almost like a tarot card deck for creativity where you pull them out and you go, okay, in terms of my game, and then you just pull out a random card and you look at it and you think about that problem in relation to your game. So the thing, I think the reason why people don't get on with this book, even though I think it is probably one of the better books about game design, is that they don't apply it in the way it's meant to be applied, which is, okay, there's these 140, however many things it is, it's over 100 things to think about when you're making a game, and they just sort of read it in a linear way, and it's not really intended to be used that way. It's intended to be used more like the I Ching or something like that, where you're using it as a divination tool, which sounds a bit mystical and stuff, but it really isn't. Like things like that, things like tarot, or just using some sort of randomness in a process, is designed to sort of stop you going down one path too far, because you're kind of like laser focused on it. And when we're kind of the only person working on a game and we're developing the game we're designing, we do that even more, because we get sunk cost about features we've implemented. We get all of these different problems. And the idea of having like a deck of cards, I think there's like an iOS or a Google app you can download that, when I got it, was free, which is just this deck of cards in an app, and you can just press it and it will give you a thing to think about in your game. And some of the things won't be relevant. So I watched a video with Schell talking about this framework, and he said when they're working on games, one of the things he'll do is he'll go through the deck of cards and just pick out like 10 things that he thinks are the most important for that project, and then just have them on hand as prompts. So it's almost like it's like each of these could be like a section in a game design document, really, of like, here is how the hero's journey is handled in this game, right? You might make a game where that's not important because you're making a soccer band block pushing puzzle or something. And you can definitely approach it where you go through every single one of these lenses of a way of looking at your game and apply it. Or you can do it in a random way where you use them to prompt you on things that you might just not have thought of, because it's just not, it's like a blind spot for you. Or you can do them in a much more focused way where you pick out like 12 things and you go, right, this is what our game is about. These are our prompts to kind of help us. I think that book is really, really strong. And like one of the reasons he structured it that way is that everyone told him you can't make a good game design book because games are too different from each other. Like a AAA action game is different from an indie puzzle game, is different from a interactive narrative visual novel, whatever. All of these things we call games are so different from each other that it's impossible to make a universally helpful game design book. So he framed it around these sort of questions you can ask yourself as you're designing, rather than trying to make a universal framework for game design, which just doesn't work. It's like it's just too broad. Yeah. Zavi said, if a game like this was released today, do you think it would do any good? Do you mean Party House? Because Party House came out last year. UFO 50 is designed to look like super retro games, but they're from very recently. And a lot of the thing that's interesting about the games in the UFO 50 collection is that they look like they're from 1989, but some of the design sensibilities in the gameplay are much, much more modern. Even if they deliberately, the people that made this, there's like a team of 4 or 5 developers all working together on Game Maker made this, but they all use the same art style or the same palette, the same kind of sprite sizes, resolution, and the same kind of input constraints of imagining a controller that just has 2 buttons, and they all work that way, but they do quite sophisticated things with those 2 buttons in some of the games. There's a 4X on there called Avianos that I did a whole video about, which I think is just absolutely fantastic in terms of how they managed to make a console 4X game with 2 buttons. Vista said, if you read the Spelunky book, it may make you make a Spelunky like an Ayana. Yeah. Yeah, if you saw my first devlog, that kind of happened to me. Because I thought I didn't like platformers, and then I thought, why is it that I like platformers? Why is it that I don't get excited about platformers that much? But Spelunky is one of my favourite games that I will just always go back to. Probably top 10 games of all time. Just really enjoy. If you gave me a big collection of games and I didn't know what to play, I would just play Spelunky. And I think it's just one of those things of, when you've played a really good example of something, you compare everything to it, and it's just like, oh, well, if your platformer doesn't have these things that Spelunky has, and I'm not even talking about the roguelike element of Spelunky, just the basic platforming and the way the character handles and stuff like that is so good in Spelunky, even before you start thinking about the roguelike elements. I think sometimes it can look like a person hates a genre of games when actually it's just they have a very high standards of that thing, you know? Yeah, the dinosaur, the birds and... Well, it's birds that worship dinosaurs. The dinosaurs are like their pantheon of gods, and then the people are like... The little soldiers are like birds and owls and stuff. Which an owl is a type of bird. I don't know if you knew that. But, an owl. But yeah, Larry, we will go over that in the podcast in more detail. But it's quite an interesting book to just sit down and read. I have definitely heard people from more technical backgrounds kind of think it's a bit wafty or pretentious or something. I think it's really accessible. It's just if you're very resistant to the idea that as a game developer your goal is to create an experience for someone and focus on that and not on like I don't know, stuff the player doesn't see, then some of that book is going to come across as a bit too touchy-feely, but it is good. Shell started his career as a juggler. That was like the first thing he did in entertainment, and then for most of the 90s he was a Disney were they called? No, they're Imagineers, which are like the tech R&D people at Disney that made things like their MMO and their AR rides in Disneyland and stuff. So he's got a very interesting set of professional experience that he applies throughout the book as well, because some of it is applied to these things like these Disneyland rides, which are very clearly a video game in the sense that it's happening on a computer and it's like projected 3D stuff and everything, but they're also like close to being like an escape room or something. So you do occasionally get game design books like Jeff Engelstein, for example, is a board game guy. But he writes books that you could apply to any type of game design. But the board game sort of bias still leads towards thinking about strategy games, thinking about turn-based games. Whereas Shell's background is like in this strange middle ground of making things like fairground rides and stuff, which makes them for a very kind of interesting game design teacher, I think. The evil mouse, yeah. The evil mouse who smells of eggs. If you don't know what that is a reference to, then you just have to go and Google Mickey Mouse I smell of eggs and see what comes up. Right, folks, thank you for joining today. I need to hop off and do a work thing because I'm getting begged for a CSV file, which is the sort of thing that happens when you do freelance design. Can you update the CSV file? No one else can do it. So I'm going to go and change 4 numbers and then upload a thing.